Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Sodbuster Living, where we talk about homestead life, cultivating our land and our lives. And this video is a Charlotte Mason video because part of our homeschool involves a Charlotte Mason philosophy or method. And let's talk homeschooling. When we moved out here, I had this idea in my head that we were going to need our routine. So we were going to have school every day. We were going to have just a good, flexible schedule. To a certain extent, we were able to keep up our reading, writing, and arithmetic. But as a unstructured day would go, when you have a full day pretty much devoted to driving around, looking at houses, going through different things, and now we're in the closing process of our house, and nothing is getting done. There is a lot of second guessing and doubting yourself as you try to get back into that routine. And I have to say that a lot of life lately has been that, and I think even to a certain extent every January tends to get that way. It gets to a way where you're wondering if you have made the best choices for your family, if you shouldn't change something up, if when you start to homeschool, you really take a huge thing upon yourself. And I know we all know this, but you take on the responsibility of what our government system should do. When you have 30 kids in a classroom with one teacher, every teacher will tell you there's just not enough of them for everyone. And okay, so let's go to the mother and let's have her teach the child. And by teaching the child, I can tell you that even if you have an amazing homeschool or an amazing homeschooler, and that person grows up and decides to homeschool. Unfortunately, I got interrupted here and it's just kind of messed up, but what I was trying to do right now is just show you through an illustration of my own upbringing how this works out for the student later on. Yes, we had this enriching academic learning from our parents, but our true learning actually began when we became teachers. And suddenly the world began to truly make sense in a broader spectrum. So all those years, it was more about learning how to learn, as my mom puts it. And now learning to see how all this around us, all these things that we're learning about, applies in our everyday life, whether it's politics and decision making, research and investigating, and wanting to learn and understand more. That, I think, we take that on ourselves when we decide to homeschool our kids, is to teach them how to learn and give them the tools they need in order to carry on through life, but also keeping that spark of wanting to know and understand more alive. So as I'm going through this in my head, and I'm sitting on the couch literally in tears, because I just didn't feel like I was doing what was right for my kids. You can have a completely structured day and it be a chaotic structured day. And we were just getting to the point where I was like, you know what? Maybe my daughter is doing 6th and 7th grade right now, using a lot of the Amplify resources and written narrations, and just she's taken control of her education and thriving in that. So I do not have a problem with my daughter. Where I am really struggling is with my 11-year-old son and my 7-year-old son, and even my 3-year-old son. Interesting, isn't that? They're all the boys. My 6-year-old daughter is ambitious and is a go-getter, and you could give her double the amount of school and she would be happy. My boys just don't mention that S word to them. And so literally that day I'm sitting in tears thinking, I am failing. Why can't I give my kids this love of learning when all they want to do is nothing? We moved here and we're like hop, skip, and a jump away from the local library. So I was like, yes, let's go there. Well, guess what the local library had? It had free access to video games through their computers. So what do my boys want to do all the time? Yes, they want to play the computers. And so I was like, okay, let's try to make this work to my advantage. Okay, if you guys get all of your schoolwork done, that's 15 minutes, and then you have to go and you have to read within the library for 15 minutes, then you can come back and play another 15 minutes if you have done your schoolwork with a good attitude. I thought I was earning brownie points in this, like, hey, you want 30 minutes of this computer time, and let's stop at 30 minutes. Let's earn it. Let's have our schoolwork done, and not only have our schoolwork done and get that 15 minutes, let's have it done cheerfully and without attitude, and you can earn another 15 minutes. It has never worked out. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is, if we just haven't learned the self-discipline with it, but my boys just turn into monsters with computer games. And now I'm like, no, this is not working for us. And we're scaling back and we're going back to school, but now there is no motivation for school. So it's like, well, then you're going to do school because I tell you to do school, which ensures multiple attitude issues a day. So how does that fit with this Charlotte Mason principle method that I keep raving about and talking about? I'm sitting on the couch in tears that day thinking, you know what? Maybe they just need it black and white. Fine. You can read it and then you can do the test and we'll go on from there. We'll completely redo the homeschool. And so you can have the typical school thing where you have to read, memorize, complete the test, and do the checklist. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is not education. This is just completing the checklists. And isn't that kind of, even to a certain extent, how we don't want our relationship with our Father to be like? We don't want it to just be a checklist thing. And I'm sitting here thinking, Charlotte Mason, not to make a goddess out of her, that's not this intention at all. She was just very wise and very observant, which is something that we're trying to teach our children, right? Through nature study and different things, to just be observant. She was very wise in the sense that she said, the habits are the foundation to child's education. And right now, those habits just need a lot of work on, even more importantly than any of the other academic things, because the academics, you can push and push all you want, but until the good moral habits are in place, they're not going to do diddly diddly squat. So it was interesting how I just kept coming back to Charlotte Mason and her principles, and realizing that I'm educating the whole child. And when you sit down and you talk with a child and you're trying to get them to understand why they do all this, I can't tell you how many times I've heard this from students that I've taken on, children or kids that I've talked to, and even my own boys. And they're like, well, why do I need to learn this anyway? I'm not planning on going into college. I'm like, you need to know this whether or not you go to college. Your dad never went to college. Can you sit down and balance a checkbook like your dad does? Your dad never went to college. Do you understand history enough to be able to make the wise decisions in voting for who we need to vote for? To know our rights? Your dad never went to college. What makes you think that he had no education in order to do what he's meant to do? And you admire your dad a lot. So I hate when children use that, because it's like, this isn't about being able to go into college. If you want to, these are steps that you need to accomplish. But this has nothing to do with whether or not you go to college. I could care less if you decide to go to college or not. I really don't care. My daughter, like I've used her example before, she's like, I'm going to have to go to college and really understand how to apply medication properly according to this thing, and to know how to all these things. So she's like, I want to go to college and I want to learn this, and so I can do this. So there is a purpose in college. I do not want my kids to go to college if they have nothing that is needed. I don't know if that makes sense, but if they don't have ambitions for a career in something that's college needed, then I don't really want them to waste that money. Nor do I want them wasting the money and being in college until they figure out what they want to do. Which, interestingly enough, how many people go to college and then change their careers when they find out that they don't enjoy it at all? So I try to give them samples of what that's like. Okay, you want this. This is what it's going to look like. And right now that could be intimidating. They don't want the extra schoolwork. Or later on it could be like, you know what? I understand. You've shown it to me. I still want to pursue this. And that's fine. Like, even with my daughter, going back to her because she's just adamant about what she wants to do. I was like, okay, you want to be a nurse? This is what it's going to look like. And she read nurse biographies, current and past, so that she saw what she could be dealing with. And she still has that pursuit in her, but she has an understanding of what it could be like. I'm sure it's going to be more than what we both realize. But anyway, all that to say, my son just wants to be a fireman. I don't believe at this point you have to go to college to be a fireman. You have to do EMT classes. But I don't know. I think it's through college, but you don't need a college degree to become a fireman. And so that whole, I don't want to do academics, so I don't plan on going to college, is not an excuse that I accept. So going back to this, sitting here on the couch in tears, trying to figure out where we want to go, what I need to do, what we really need to focus on right now. Math and geography and history and science were so low on the totem pole, like I probably shouldn't even be bothering to mention it. My relationship with my kids, our relationship to God, which not necessarily in the sword. Let's put our relationship to God, my relationship with my kids and my kids to me, our attitudes, and the fact that we just moved away from family members and everything we knew, including mom. Like, we've been focusing on that. So I'm not on here showing, well, this month, this is our great curriculum to show you. I don't have any of that. We've been working through this, and coming on here and making this video, it's not like, okay, this is what it is, and this is how it's going to be. And, this homeschool life, well, my circumstances are my circumstances, but we all in certain times of our lives have similar circumstances. And I would even say, like, the winter months just tend to get more difficult, especially coming out of that Christmas spirit, that high. And then, like, I'm starting to understand being inside a little bit more. Like, I know I've mentioned this in other videos, like, where is the sun out here? And when the sun is, it's like, guys, go outside. I actually still don't mind overcast days, and it looks like the sun is out. It's not out. I don't mind the overcast days. I still think they're nice. I still haven't gotten out. Anyway, I was going with that with something, but just learning these different environments and learning to work around them, and then realizing that many of us are kind of in this slump right now with homeschooling. I'm seeing it on Instagram, social media, YouTube. I'm just seeing it. And again, I was caught into that trap of maybe I need to change our curriculum, but being still that firm believer in let's not change curriculum just so we have something new and exciting. And I want to know why something's not working. Actually, I want to know the why behind a lot of things. That's my one weakness. I want to know why. Um, and the why here is simply that we're just learning to adapt to a new way of life. And right now, mom being me, was trying to get everything in place with school, kind of our main routine of what we're used to. Hey, let's do Bible, let's do our reading, let's do this, let's do this. And in the middle of all this, I would get a phone call from the realtor, from the insurance person, from the mortgage person, from something else that I needed to take that had to do with all this. I had to set up health insurance. I've on all of that in the middle of all this, trying to keep it normalcy. We're not a family that does well without some kind of routine or schedule. I would even go so far as to say we're just not. But we're still trying to find that balance of needing some kind of schedule routine and needing it to be completely adaptable. So my she's got this, and she is doing amazing. She's doing fabulous. I'm seeing some of the stuff she's writing, and she's just taking it on herself to narrate large passages and to retain, and she can explain. And my boys are just like, I don't give a flying duck over what you're going to teach. Even to the point where this is probably like the hardest thing for me to accept is they could care less whether or not we do Bible or not. And if I have failed at that, in my mind, I have failed at everything. I think it was, I think it starts with a D, Wilson. I'm going to put the name right here. She wrote The Unhurried Homeschooler. And honestly, most of that book, I think, is stuff that I already knew. But the only thing I can remember distinctly from that book that I have carried with me, and that book is so tiny, but literally the thing that I have carried with me this whole time is the simple statement she made that everything a person needs to know before heading into college, they can learn in 3 years. So I have time. All that to say, I have time. Why am I taking this huge burden on myself to make sure that they are up to this standard and they have learned? And why do I think that putting them in that standard that has been set up for one teacher with 30 students is going to be the best fit for them over what we're trying to work with here? I am incredibly hard on myself to make sure that they get schooling, because I have seen what happens when kids don't get school and they want to go to college and they want to learn and they just don't have those tools. They can barely write a paper. Their spelling is atrocious and they just have no way of expressing themselves well. And they did fine. They went and they got the degrees they needed. The fear, though, is that it puts homeschooling in a bad name, and I don't want to take it on myself to say this is a bad name, or that doesn't get put out right, but I don't want to take it on myself to contribute to the small percentage of homeschoolers out there that just don't care, insofar as schooling. They have a different agenda. That's a small percentage of the homeschoolers. Homeschoolers are a small percentage of the school children, but even a smaller percent of those homeschoolers, of the small percent of homeschoolers, are the homeschoolers that really don't care. And that's such a tiny, tiny percent according to the percentage of the homeschoolers that do care. Ugh, that was a tongue twister. Okay. So all this whole video is our homeschool update, kind of what we're dealing with, a real life look. I think many are in the slump. Not everybody. I'm not making a blanket statement. I know we're all in the slump. Okay, some of us are trying to work through. I don't think right now is the best time to make any curriculum change decisions or even be researching curriculum to change up for later on or see something. I think right now is the best time to show your children what diligence is. When things get hard, just being diligent and keep going with what you have already set up. So with your curriculum. Lately, I've had a lot more people comment on my Charlotte Mason videos. I'm so glad that you have reached out and asked for different content. You've actually been specific, which has been very helpful. Thank you. I am very in the details kind of person, so be as specific as you can. And I will try to follow up with those videos as soon as I can, especially because some of them was, are we still doing Ambleside? And some of them were, someone asked, are we still doing Ambleside, and are there other Charlotte Mason curriculums we would recommend or use or enjoyed or all that? So those are really good specific questions. I will try to address those in another Charlotte Mason video since this one's so long. And I've had some other requests for videos, so thank you. I appreciate that. If there is anything that I can help with the knowledge that I have, go ahead and leave that question down below and I will address it as soon as I can. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Just keep plugging along, mamas. That's all I guess the gist of this video is. Just keep plugging along even when things just feel despairing. We're in the depths of despair, but tomorrow's is a new day with no mistakes in it. Yet. I'll see you next time. Bye.